big step away from who you were. Flashing that smile and the whole world's a blur. Dancing in the limelight, oh you're on in the night. Looking fresh, looking tight, honey. Yeah, you got 'em hanging on your every word.
Happy hump day. It's Wednesday. Positively Powerful is back on live Facebook and LinkedIn. Smash that button. Stacey Steinmiller here with me today.
Hi.
Being awesome as usual. You know, I just wanted to go back real quick and bring up our graphic. We both have our hands on our chins. I just realized that now. Like we're both doing the hand to chin thing, which I wonder what
feels
that
powerful.
means. Is that our power pose?
I don't. I think so. I don't know that I go by vibes. I don't know why I pick things when I pick things. I'm like, I'm going to use this picture of me, and then I'm like, go. Literally, just went through your Facebook and stole a picture.
Pulled one.
Yeah, that's what I did.
That's good. That's good. Everybody, put your power picture in the comments below. I want to see your power
like
picture.
It's like with the thinker. What's the
yes.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So one of the things that we've talked about constantly, or not specifically talked about, but has been popping up in our conversations since we've started speaking together is the notion of energy, of energy, like what kind of energy you're bringing into whatever it is, be it a conversation, a relationship, a task, something. And I had a question for you, because I know that you've said this to me many times, like, what's your energy going into this? Like, oh, I have to have this conversation with this person. And what was your energy going into it? Well, I was scared. I was maybe combative. I was this and that. And that energy came through, even if I tried to put on a smile or put on a nice facade, that deep down that energy still came through somehow. So I was wondering, is there a way to really like get that energy right? Like, how do you know that energy is right? Is it something? Because I feel like for me, I'm going to have to like meditate on that shit for a while. Like I'm going to have to sit here and, all right, I need to sit here for 5 minutes and say, all right, you're going to be cool. You're going to be cool. You're going to be cool. You know what I mean? I mean, is that what you mean by like setting your energy and setting your intention for something?
Well, I wouldn't recommend doing it that way, because you're trying to force or convince yourself of something that doesn't feel true or accurate. Sorry, my cat is destroying my furniture.
That's the perfect actually segue into something we haven't started yet. That idea of forcing yourself. So maybe the better question is, what is the difference between your true energy of intention and what you're forcing yourself? Like, how do you know that you know what I mean? Like the difference between the two. I'm forcing myself to be this way, but am I really that way? Even sometimes you believe, after you force yourself, you believe it, but maybe deep down you're not there.
Yeah. Well, this is where it gets juicier, and this is where the work comes in, and the nuance, and knowing yourself and doing the work individually to know you and like your specific pulls and so forth. So to kind of really know the difference, one thing is, am I allowing this, or am I fixated on making it a certain way? Am I in control, or I am in a place of allowing? So if we want to like set our intention, we can say what we desire, but then it's more of allowing that to happen instead of forcing it to happen, if that's enough distinction, and we can get more detailed.
Forcing it. Well, I mean, it's actually a theme. It's actually a theme. I remember like being as a kid, with my toys or whatever, or putting something together even now as an old man. um, that idea of not forcing something, like this stupid thing from IKEA won't fit together. They drilled the holes a millimeter off and it won't. Don't force it. Because if
Yes.
you force it, it's
Right.
going to
It'll
break.
break.
It'll break.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
like a never ending kind of theme for me. Like every time I try to force something, force an issue, force a piece of equipment together, whatever, inevitably something breaks.
It breaks. Exactly. Exactly. So we wanna, yeah, get in the energy of like warming it up or being curious or playful or "Okay, well, what happens if I do this? Or what happens if I do that? Or what do I notice? Sorry.
So like we're talking, what happens if I just sort of slap you? What happens if I do that? No, I'm just kidding.
But
Um,
that's a thing too, right? Like touch, we can talk about this with any different topic, really. But
yeah.
um yeah. Yeah, it's being playful and curious and more of in that moment. So let's use a specific example because I think it'll be better. So you were talking about like a conversation. So what would be your desired feeling state in the conversation? What would that be, for example?
Um, I would want. I don't know. That's a. I guess it depends on
Yeah,
the
you already
conversation,
stumped you.
but yeah, but it would be. Maybe I'm at a loss for words. Like whatever it would like. I can't think of the word. Being on the same page
Hmm.
with
Like the understood.
understood, equal with the other person. Like
Yeah.
we're both in the same place at that time, going into it with
Yeah.
the same intentions, with the same emotions, with all of that being matched, I guess, matched
Okay.
emotions, matched energy,
Yeah. Yeah. The word that came to me was balanced when I was listening to you.
balanced. Yeah, that
Okay.
that that makes more
So
sense.
yeah. So then, all right, if I want to have a conversation, I want to feel balanced, I want to feel even keel, right?
Yeah,
So it's getting in that energy of you feeling balanced and even keel before the conversation. And so therefore you're not thinking about this is what I'm going to say. And then what if they say this? Then I'm going to say that. And then this and that. And that's how most people enter conversation,
right.
which if you do it that way, you're not actually present. You're just trying to run off a script that you made. So you're trying to control the conversation. You're not actually in the conversation.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. Because that's how I would approach it. As I would go, you kind of work out the scenarios in your head and you try to figure out like, all right, if I say this, then what their response could be this or it could be that, and then if that happens, I say this. So it's something entirely different than preparing for the
Yes.
words.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I work very different, and that's where my work is so different from a lot of other work that exists and that's out there. I don't do any of that, and I actually discourage that. And instead, I would help someone get into that feeling of ease, balance, even keelness. What visions come up when you think of that? Can you bring up the body sensations of that? The words, where do you feel that in your body? Like getting you to actually feel that way. And that's how you set that energy. And then now you bring that balanced energy into the conversation. And then that's what the other person feels.
So it's not a matter of feeling trying to trying to like create this image of balance as it relates to that conversation. It could be anything that
Yep.
you have to think like, I feel balanced when I think of being out on the ocean, like, which is
Yes.
odd because you're rocking, but you know what I mean, you know,
Yep.
or the beach or around water. Like if I think about being around water, a calm, beach setting, that makes me feel balanced. So just bringing myself into that energy, like, all right, I'm
Mhm.
at the beach. I'm,
Mhm.
the seagulls are squawking and then you can hear the waves and there's a light breeze and, that kind of thing. And then you're like, all right, now I've got that balanced feeling. And then you go into the conversation as opposed to what I always thought it was, which was like playing out the conversation or preparing in my head specifically about the conversation and saying, all right, this is like the balance of how loud I am or how forceful I am in my conversation or if I'm smiling or if I'm feel down or you know what I mean, like that whole outward appearance of my attitude. It has nothing to do with any of that.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's your internal understanding of your own emotions, and
Yes.
you actually have to focus on something that from the past gives you that same energy. Focus
Mhm.
on that, which will then bring that energy to you. Is that basically what you're kind of saying? In essence, like a meditation of some sort, but
Yeah.
without going full bore in, sitting there for 20 minutes kind of thing.
Right, yeah, and it can be simple and it can be fast. It doesn't need to be a big elaborate thing. And obviously, the more matter that you have around the situation, the harder it is going to be in a place of easefulness. So then it's kind of working on that. And the amount of matter in a situation is stemming from your fear. So then you got to work through all that
What do
bullshit
you mean
as well.
when you're talking about matter? What do you mean by matter?
Attachment to the outcomes. So,
Attachment to the outcomes.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're worried too much about what someone's going to say or how the conversation's going to go or anything, what their opinion's going to be about your pants. I don't know. I'm just thinking
Right.
out loud.
Yeah.
You know, that
Yep.
that is what you're calling, what'd you say it was again?
Matter, attachment to the
Matter.
outcomes.
Okay.
Yeah. 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 That there's like a heaviness about it, right? Like if I want Scott to respond a certain way, I'm going to be really anxious and have a lot of pressure and have a lot of heaviness on every word I say because I'm so afraid and trying to control something that I can't control. I can't control what Scott is about to say, right? You know?
That's true.
Yeah. So
You
it's
never know what kind of weird crap I'm going to come out with.
it's- exactly. Exactly. I don't know. So it's better for me to just show up how I want to show up, right? And then it's like a dance, you know? Like yes, you need to learn the steps and the music and this and that, but really to dance well, these are all like it's like this like an improv. You know, life is like improv and you need to just be in the dance and so yeah, so it's not being like, okay, I need to be quiet in this conversation. Well, sometimes the conversation might call for you to be more animated and this and that, right? And so if you try and plan that out on advanced, you'll miss the actual cues of what's really going on in the moment, and then they will feel misunderstood because you're trying to go through the script instead of actually being in this dance together.
As a life coach, do you find yourself showing up forgetting how to dance? Or at least
Of
not really down with the moves for that day?
Yeah, of course. It's something this stuff is what I'm constantly working on. Um, I think at this point, it's usually catching for me the matter, like where I'm attached to the outcomes and trying to catch that as soon as possible so that I can work on releasing that fear so that I can show up to the dance. And that's what I tend to focus on for myself.
So have you watched the show White Lotus, The White Lotus?
I have not.
It's on Max,
I do have
HBO.
Max.
They're in season 3 and they're in Thailand, and one of the characters is a young girl whose ambition is to go live with these monks in Thailand. And so the parents make them all go to talk to these monks. And the dad's got his own things going on, and he goes and sits down with the monk. and and I was thinking about this kind of stuff because I was thinking about from a father's point of view. Like, imagine my kid wants to travel to Thailand and live with these monks for a year. And I don't, and they're like, what if it's a cult and stuff like that? And, you know, Buddhism obviously is not a cult, but, he starts talking about death and what happens when you die. And the monk starts saying, well, imagine your life is like a splash of water. It comes up from the main body of water as a droplet, and then that's your life. And then when you die, it goes back down and ends up back into where the puddle, you know, the water where it came from. And that whole idea of separating yourself from the matter, from all the outcomes, from everything that's happening, and just thinking of yourself as that one, like coming from that geez, I'm having trouble today.
Okay.
That what's the word I'm looking for? That consciousness, that all that consciousness, that the whole thing, everything, you come out, you're your own self, and then you go back, you return to that same consciousness.
Yes.
And
you still are it when you are the water drop.
You're just
too.
a piece of it. You're just a piece of it.
Yes, like it's all the same.
Yeah, you're still the same. You're still this made up of the same things. And
exactly.
And that like when I was watching that scene, I was thinking of all this kind of stuff. I was thinking about what we were going to talk about today. I was thinking about all the stuff that you talked to me about energy and about mindfulness and about separating yourself from the outcomes and all of those things. And I thought about it for a second, and I just had this incredible fascination with those Buddhist monks that, you know, they're in robes and they live simple lives, but they are happy. They're full of joy. They're they're peaceful. They're full, and they're not worrying about all of the crap that now. I'm not saying I'm going to, you know, go to Thailand and become a monk, but just that whole concept of what they devote their lives to, that philosophy, to that idea of finding that inner joy and that inner peace and everything like that. And I think everybody, to some extent, that's what they're hoping to find, but that they're looking elsewhere for it. They're looking outside. They're trying to find, you know, and they're trying to find those in that matter, in the outcomes. Right. If I do this outcome is going to happen. It's going to make me feel joy, but the joy actually is supposed to come from your own energy, which that whole thing, that whole concept is just, it's mind blowing for me. And it's really difficult.
It takes a bit. It takes a bit. It's something that happens over time. But I want to say something about the monk stuff. So like the life of a monk is the same every day. They get up at the same time every day. They meditate at the same time every day. They eat at the same time every day. Their work is the same every day. Their day is lined up and it's going to be the same for the rest of their life. So the way they set up their life is there is no desire for any outcome. You just are in each thing and you already know what that's going to be, and that has been decided for you. So it's sacrificing that ego. It's the full sacrifice of that ego desire to have these things that most humans want and want to play with in the world. So it's really interesting. Yeah, I could talk about all that stuff for
that's just beyond comprehension for me. I mean, I think about how difficult it is to like prepare my energy for going into whatever it is. I'm going to go into a conversation. I got to prepare my energy, and I'm concentrating on it. I'm working hard on it. I'm probably overdoing it. I'm overthinking it. I'm doing all this stuff. And then I see this guy. Obviously, it was just an actor in a show, but representing real people in this robe, sitting there, doing whatever it is they do during the day, meditating, chanting,
Yeah,
you know,
chanting.
they're gardening, they're doing chores, they're doing things like that,
Yes.
and they're perfectly content living in that moment, doing whatever it is that they're doing, not worrying about anything,
Yeah.
at least as far as we know. And that
Right.
I can't fathom that. I can't imagine how many years how long it has to take someone to get to that point in themselves, in their mind and in their soul, to be content with that lifestyle and to just be in harmony with it. Like, I think just being in harmony with anything is a real challenge.
There's a surrender that has to happen for
Hmm.
that,
And what do you mean by
right?
that? Surrender.
Um, and I mean, the wording can be different for different people and how they look at things, but it's allow. It's not, the ego is not in the way, right? So to be in the moment, you have to allow. You have to just be, and you can't be in control. So you have to. So people will use that word surrender, where you're giving up that control. Is usually when I use the word surrender. You're
Yeah.
giving up your desire for control around the situation.
Right. And that's kind of like the same with sort of like, one of the first steps in a 12-step program is that you're giving up, that you're accepting the fact that you have no control. You're giving that up. There's no control for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. 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 So then when you get to then you get to more of a deeper place of, so that's like the ego trying to have control. So then when you're not operating from that, now, okay, so now where am I operating from? And then that's where we can talk about that water and that pool of consciousness, right? That it's all operating from, yeah, and it's all the same. We're all the same. They're just like the drops, and they're just expressing itself. It's a dance, it's this, that, but it's all the same stuff, just dancing around. And it does, and so none of it matters. So then we go from like everything matters and this drop and this is this and it has to be this certain way, to it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And so it's getting to that simplification process and
Hmm.
things not mattering, and they're literally just being.
It's kind of like just that when people say in the grand scheme of things, when you take a step out and you look,
Yes,
take a
zoom
step
out.
back and you look at it and you're like, is what happens if this doesn't, like, I screwed this up, and someone's like, hey, you screwed this up, you got to fix it. Okay, I'll fix it.
Right.
There's still a war going on the other side of the world. There's still a person down the street who's struggling to find a meal. There's still, it's all these things are happening regardless of my little screwed up
Mhm.
edit or whatever. And I remember when I first got into radio in Rochester, wonderful guy named Pat Rivers. He does middays on Warm 101.3.
Mm.
Check out Pat Rivers in the Lunchtime Request Cafe. He said he was training me, and I was like, I think there was some dead air or something, it was like the song ended and then 2 seconds of dead air, and then I put on the mic and I'm like, Warm 101.3, and then after that I was like, oh my god, I was like, he's like, no one died, no one's
You're
gonna
right.
die,
Yeah.
so it's like, I think just as human beings we often build up the situation way
Mhm.
bigger than it really actually is at the moment. Like,
Yeah.
if I don't do this right now, yeah, okay, so this is what I'm supposed to do, but if I don't do this, nobody's gonna die. Nobody's gonna go. Yeah, I mean, obviously you can't say that if you're a heart surgeon or if you're an airline pilot. Well, if I don't put the landing gear down, nobody's gonna die. I'm just talking about in the humdrum, everyday, everyday things. And
Right.
sometimes that kind of thought can give you that balance that we're seeking
Right.
for, that energy, that if you can say, all right, drop that matter, drop those outcomes and just say, "Oh, okay." And sometimes when I think about that, I actually feel my shoulders relax a little bit and I actually feel like, oh,
Exactly.
that backpack that
Exactly.
I had just fell off for a second and it feels good. It's just a matter of keeping it, a matter of
Off.
maintaining that, because
Yeah.
5 minutes later something happens and I'm like, "Arr!"
Yeah, so it's a constant shedding. You're constantly taking the backpack off. And so it's just recognizing when the backpack's on and being like, oh, I put my backpack on. And then you
Yeah,
throw it
Matt
off.
White. Will it matter in 5 hours, 5 days, 5 years? That's
Yeah.
a good point.
Yeah.
Will it? Will it?
Right.
Does it? Is it going to matter? No. 5 years from now, even 5 hours from now, that's a really great way to think about it. Like, how long is it going to matter for? Maybe 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah. And and it can be kind of scary with relationships, right? Because there is often that longer time frame, right? Like if if I show up to this talk with Scott and it's terrible, that I could have this fear that says he's not going to ever want to do this again, or he might not like me and he'll never talk to me again, right? We get into those things. And then that's this fear that we put into things that don't need to be there. And then if I show up in all this fear that if I don't do this right, Scott's never going to talk to me again. Yeah, that's a really heavy backpack to be carrying around.
I think the only thing that you could ever do that would force
This
me
is
to
just an
not
example.
speak to you again is maybe message me some random picture of me at an event where there's a picture I look I'm having
I'm gonna
trouble.
die.
So
Yeah, tell the story. This is
I'm at
great.
this event, I'm working this event and I look in my messenger in Facebook and there's a picture of me sitting at the event from this side, from this angle and I'm like, who the hell just took that picture? And it's from Stacey. So I look in the crowd and I don't see Stacey and I'm looking and people are looking at me looking and I'm trying to like kind of like look without looking. And I'm looking, and I'm like, all right, this is weird. How the hell did you just send me a picture of myself sitting where I'm sitting right now and you're not here? And it was a great example of why you should go to radicallifecoach.com and hire Stacey to be your business coach because she is omniscient, omnipresent. She has minions and spies everywhere. They're always watching. And then she goes ahead and starts giving me advice on how I should sell to the people at this event. And I'm like, I don't know, it's not really that appropriate, but uh tell you what, that was pretty amazing.
It was amazing. I was dying. I was literally sitting on my couch. It was Saturday morning. Like my daughter was still asleep. I was literally just sitting on the couch. And then my friend is like, "Hey, who's that guy that you do the podcast with?" And he's like, "Is this him?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's him." So then I sent it to you.
My first thought was like, what the hell are you doing at a cybersecurity seminar? Like,
Hey,
why are you
I show
here?
up at random places,
Yeah, I
You
know.
never know where you're
That's what
gonna
I was
see me.
thinking.
That's another thing.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, is this part of her weird ass like networking strategy to like show up at these things that yeah.
So just show up but wait, there's a point that I want to make too with all of this is it reminds me of being willing to look the fool. So when we take that backpack off, right, and make things not matter and you feel that lightness, now we have more capacity to look the fool. And that's when we get to really play. Like if I don't care that people will think I am a fool, then I'm able to take these risks that could result in something bigger and better than I could have ever come up with myself if I was trying to control.
Oh
So
yeah.
there
Oh
is,
yeah.
yeah, so there is
That's
this like fun
huge.
thing of looking the fool, right?
That's huge because
Yeah.
that's been my biggest fear in my entire life. Besides sharks, has been looking the fool. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that moment of, oh, people are gonna look at me and go, "What are you doing, you weirdo?" It doesn't matter
Yeah.
where I am too. It could be getting in the wrong line at the grocery store, standing in line, people going, why are you in that line? It's
Yeah.
like that silly fear, and if you think about it, it's like, who cares? Who cares what these idiots think, or what line I'm in, or the fact that I missed this or didn't pick this up? Just like mundane things that I'm
Yeah.
worrying about other people seeing.
Yeah.
Like, does this hat
Yeah.
look stupid on me? Are people gonna make fun of me with this hat on? Like, nobody even sees me. They don't know I'm wearing a hat because they can't see me or the hat.
Right. So something that you can do to break that conditioning is to do something to intentionally look the fool so that you can then survive it and realize that you're still alive and all is well. So,
So I spend
you
my
know,
whole life trying to not look the fool, and yet
just
all
to,
the while I'm looking the fool. So
yeah.
hey,
I
you've got
love
you've
it.
got some fans. Stacy has so helped me take risks I would not normally taken. I had a huge, what does that say? I had a
Older.
huge boulder which had been crumbled to a large stone and still have work to do, but I know it will get done. Whoops, and went away. With Stacy in my corner. That's true. Stacy's you're like an amazing person to have in someone's corner. Like, I think one of my best experiences with you as my coach and with our group is the fact that I have a safe space to talk about my wins, to share my wins. And wins for everybody could be, there's just it's a spectrum, right? Something
Mhm.
that's a huge win for me might like be laughable to somebody else, but in that group it's not laughable. It's like, that's
Yes.
fantastic. You got up and put your shoes on today. Bravo. Good job. And there are times where I tell you, there have been times in the past where getting up and putting my shoes on would have been a huge
Yeah.
accomplishment,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, because I think people are attracted to people, quote, acting the fool, like, look how confident they are or doing something the
Oh,
other
right.
person would never know. Yep.
Right. They're like, look, they don't care. They ain't got a care in the world. They're just whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah. And that's true. I have seen those people that I'm like, wow, I would love to be as free as that, to walk around and just be like, who cares? I don't care.
And you
I'm
can.
wearing a flower on my head and I'm loving life. Um,
Yep. Yeah.
well,
That's a decision we make, right? So we have to make that decision. And that's what I'm saying, to literally intentionally, like, go out and wear something that you think is silly so that you get that attention and decide, I am doing this. Like, go do it to break that conditioning. And, it's like the only way out is through, sort of thing. But there you go. See, you do silly things.
I
But you have to
actually,
do what you
I
actually
actually
care about.
used
You don't
this.
care about that. You
I
don't care
used,
about that. So that's, oh, wait. So, wait, sorry, I get so excited. Because, wait, no, that's another block that people are like, because I did this too. Well, I do silly things. Like, I look a fool. And it's like, yeah, I look a fool in the ways I'm comfortable looking a
right,
fool.
right,
What
right,
about the ways that I'm uncomfortable? So,
right.
so caveat is, You need to go look a fool in the ways that you are actually afraid, right? What a fool, Krista. Thank you. That's hilarious.
Well, that's
We're all gonna make fun of Scott. We'll all point and laugh at him.
I'll just turn this thing off right now. We'll go home. All right. Well, that's a heck of a. I like the energy that we're leaving on. We're leaving on like kind of a fun energy, and it's about transforming yourself and not taking yourself too seriously and stuff like that, which is exactly where I want to end things on always, instead of being all serious. But today was important for me because I'm trying to get a better handle on the idea of approaching things, manipulating my own energy to approach things, or not, maybe not manipulating, but controlling, I guess is a better word. You know, right?
Well, let's pick up on this next week.
Yeah. Well, there's always a next week. Because I start talking and then Stacey's like, dude, you're talking about two different things, but you're claiming they're the same. All right. I get it. Yeah, that's why she's the life coach and I'm just the dude that pushes buttons and sets up cameras. By the way, radicallifecoach.com. Hook up with Stacey. She'll get you like, you know, working at a new level, a different level, a higher level, right? A next level. Yeah. Oh and yeah. And then come to Rockvox and we'll get you a podcast and whatnot. How's that?
Yeah, to spread your message, to live your dream, to create your passion.
I'll turn the wall off behind me. Whoop! Oh, there's a green screen. Oh God. Anyway,
fancy control all your fancy equipment you've got.
We'll
so green screen, and you put whatever the fuck that background is.
Oh, you know what this is? So let me take the blur out. This is actually the wall. I took a picture of the wall in the other studio, but I mean, if we wanted to, I can be in front of a colorful shelf, or I could be at the beach.
Well, there's your beach vibes.
There's a brick wall behind me for some reason. I don't know why there'd be a brick wall in my office, or I'm in a tunnel. I don't know what's going on here.
You're like in a music video from the 90s.
Or it's just, I don't know. I'm in a void.
Well, I have confetti today.
Yeah, no. Well, your backgrounds are always nice and fun. Mine are, you know.
I get them from Canva.
There you
Canva is my background.
She knows where to get all the cool things. All right.
Yeah, so, the answer will always be Canva.
The answer will always be Canva. Well, see you next time on this show, Positively Powerful. Hey. There we go.
Yeah, they're gonna mess with you, baby. You're a star. Stepping in the spotlight, you know that it feels like time to put